How's this?
It's great.
Oh, I need my glasses.
All right. Good evening, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started here.
Testing. There you are. Okay.
Good evening. Oh, there we go. Hi, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started here. My name is Lori Van Haren. I'm the Deputy Director of the Independent Redistricting Commission. I am super excited for the attendance we have tonight. We have satellite locations. We have locations on WebEx. And so at the beginning of this meeting, we're going to ask Stephen Robinson from Golden Valley to say the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody could please stand.
Thank you very much. And let us say the Pledge of Allegiance to the greatest country that has brought more prosperity to anybody in any other country in the history of the world. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And next we have just a brief welcoming statement from the Mayor, Cal Sheehy from Lake Havasu City.
Excellent. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you and welcome. I'm so delighted to see such a great crowd from our region and our area. The Independent Redistricting Commission mission is to redraw Arizona's congressional and legislative districts to reflect the results of the most recent census. And so we're really delighted again to have the committee come up here to Lake Havasu City to hear from our residents. Again, I'm so pleased with so many of our citizens coming this evening, and I look forward to hearing your testimony. Enjoy your afternoon and evening. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much, Mayor. And now we're going to have Chairwoman Newberg start the meeting.
Thank you, Lori. With that, we will dive right in. It's just a delight to be here with your community and continue our listening tour. It's been a remarkable honor to be part of everybody's civic engagement. And I just deeply appreciate your commitment to come out this evening. With that agenda item 1, call to order, I now call to order the next meeting of the listening tour of the Independent Redistricting Commission. We would like to remind the public that COVID-19 is still prevalent, and we ask that you follow the Arizona Department of Health guidelines. If you are not fully vaccinated, you should wear a mask in a public space. If you would like to participate from home, each of these meetings is being streamed through WebEx. Please note that if you would like to make a public comment, you may do so by signing in with staff and filling out the public comment card. If you haven't already done so, please fill out the Community of Interest survey. There is a QR code on signs at the sign-in desk and on the public comment cards that will direct you to the link. Please see a member of staff if you have any questions. We consider this data very carefully. It's worth the effort. We have an American Sign Language interpreter joining us virtually, and we have interpreter headsets available for those in attendance. We also have a transcriptionist who will be transcribing every meeting. Please speak slowly and clearly so we have a clear record of your input. Will the interpreters in attendance please introduce themselves now?
Hello, my name is Ruby Duran. I'm a Spanish interpreter from the Bullhead City area. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Richard Gomez. I'm a translator for Spanish from Lake Havasu City, Arizona.
Thank you.
Wendy Martinez, interpreter for AFLS, Kingman, Arizona. Soy Wendy Martinez, intérprete para los de habla español. and Kingman. Gracias.
Okay. I believe we're set. Thank you so much for your, efforts with making this accessible to as many people as possible. At this point, I'd like to introduce the members of the commission. My name is Erica Newberg. I'm the independent chair. I represent Maricopa County, but I've lived here over 40 years, so I think I touch upon every part of this state, so I can't say that I'm really belong to one. But I believe we have a fellow commissioner here, Vice Chair Watchman, so please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome everybody. I am Derek Watchman, Vice Chair of the Independent Redistricting Commission. I come to you from Winter Rock, Arizona. I am the Democratic appointee to the commission, and so it's good to see everybody in this room and also our satellite offices. And so I look forward to all the input. And so thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate this time.
Thank you. And with that, we'll move to agenda item number 2, a presentation on the process. First is a representative from our legal team. I believe it is Ryan from Snell and Wilmer, but please introduce yourself properly and please take it away.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ryan Regulin from the law firm of Snell and Wilmer, and I'm joined by my colleague Sean Simmers from the law firm of Ballard Spahr. And our firms represent the Independent Redistricting Commission. I want to thank you all for coming this evening. The point of this evening is to provide you with a brief overview of what the Independent Redistricting Commission does and what the process will look like. So a good place to start is the Constitution, is the Arizona Constitution.
Just get to the microphone.
The U.S. Constitution requires regular reapportionment of congressional districts, but states are responsible for creating their own maps. Every 10 years, a new redistricting occurs. Historically, from 1912 to 2000, Arizona's legislature controlled redistricting. Then, based upon an initiative passed by the voters, the Arizona Constitution was amended, and controlling of redistricting was given to an independent commission. According to Article 4 of the Arizona Constitution, the Independent Redistricting Commission requires 5 members. No more than 2 may be from the same political party. The current members are Erica Newberg, who is the chair and who is an independent, 2 Democrats, Derek Watchman and Shireen Lerner, and 2 Republicans, David Mell and Douglas York. Under Article 4 of the Arizona Constitution, 6 goals are provided for redistricting. Number 1, districts shall comply with the U.S. Constitution and the U.S. Voting Rights Act. 2, congressional districts shall have equal population to the extent practicable, and state legislative districts shall have equal population to the extent practicable. 3, districts shall be geographically compact and contiguous to the extent practicable. 4, district boundaries shall respect communities of interest to the extent practicable. 5, to the extent practicable, district lines shall use visible geographic features, city, town, and county boundaries, and undivided census tracts. And 6, and finally, to the extent practicable, competitive districts should be favored, where to do so would create no significant detriment to the other goals. Of those 6 goals, we're here tonight to obtain your comments regarding the goal that district boundaries shall respect communities of interest to the extent practicable. Regarding the projected timeline, from roughly July to August, we're conducting our initial listening tour. Then in August, census data will be released and processed. At this moment in time, we do not have census data yet. Then roughly in September, a grid map will be drawn and adopted. It's important for you to know that each independent redistricting commission starts from scratch. Thus, the old district lines are wiped clean, and the grid map only reflects 2 of the 6 criteria the commissioners are required to consider: equal population and compactness and contiguousness. Commissioners then modify the grid maps to account for the other 4 criteria I highlighted earlier, including respect for communities of interest. From September to October, possible map drafts are developed. Thank you. From September to October, possible map drafts are developed, and eventually an official map draft is adopted. From October to November, there's a minimum 30-day public comment period on the official draft map. And then from December to the project end, there is a revision to the draft map and the adoption of a final draft plan. Regarding public involvement, as I mentioned before, that's exactly what we're doing here this evening. But there are 3 specific types of public involvement that you should be aware of and that are available to you. 1, commission meetings are open to the public. There you can submit public comments at irc.az.gov/public-meetings. Second, initial input on communities of interest. Specifically, what we're looking for this evening is information for what geographic areas or neighborhoods should be considered when drawing draft maps. Third, and finally, input on draft maps. There you can submit proposed draft maps and comments on in-progress draft maps prior to the IRC selection of an official draft map. You can also submit proposed revisions and comments after the IRC selection of an official draft map. And finally, you can submit comments on near final maps.
Please, Mark, we'll now have our mapping team come up and move on with our presentation.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Flahan from Timmins. I'm the project manager on the Timmins side. I have 2 other people joining me from my team. I have Parker Bradshaw, who's our coordinator, and I have Ivy Beller-Sikansky, who is our demographer. So today we want to talk to you guys about a couple of the tools and the empowerment stuff we have for you as citizens to be able to provide input. The first one is our social economic app. It is an interactive web app that's online that will show you geographic and social economic data. And we'll talk about that a little more in the next slide. The second thing that we have is our community of interest survey. And this really allows you to draw your own community of interest. When you walked in today, you probably saw some QR codes on the stand, which would allow you to easily scan it with your phone and go directly to the survey. And then the last tool that we have is our redistricting system, which is currently being stood up. And there you'll be able to draw and submit proposed map changes. So the socioeconomic report, as like I said, it's an interactive site that's online 24/7 that you can go to. There's a screenshot on the right side of the screen. And there you can look at demographics for 14 different points. You see an acronym said CVAP, which is Citizen Voting Age Population. And there you're able to turn on or turn off all these different demographics and view them for the entire state of Arizona. So you can go and start looking at that today. The second thing that we have is our community of interest survey, which is why we're here today, talking about community of interest. On the left side is sort of our introduction there. The community of interest survey is in both English and Spanish, available 24/7 online. On the right side of the screen, you can see there's actually a map. So what that allows you to do is to draw your own community of interest map to submit to the commission here. So the map is important because that way we can accurately represent exactly what you are talking about when you're describing your community of interest. So I encourage you to go there and fill out a community of interest survey. Next up, I'm going to bring up Ivy, who's going to talk about what is a community of interest.
One moment, please. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Glad to see you here. Thanks, Mark. So, what is a community of interest? It is a geographic area of people who share a common story or connection. That connection can be common social interests, shared demographic characteristics, similar impacts from a legislative and/or congressional issue, or any other connection that leads people in a given area to believe that they would benefit from being kept together, united in one congressional or legislative district. As you think about your community, think about the factors, please, that Mark has showed you already this evening. Those say, think about you and your neighbors. Do you have similar jobs? Do you rely on similar public services? Belong to the same neighborhood associations? Are you impacted by the same regional environmental concern? Is your community defined by regional land use issues, transit concerns, languages spoken, community celebrations or traditions, or other similar issues or characteristics? Any of these characteristics could define a community of interest. Now it is your turn. As they travel the state on this listening tour, the commissioners want to hear from you. What do you want the commissioners to consider as they draft and ultimately adopt their maps? How do you define your community of interest? Using the tools that Mark just described, and in your testimony today, we want to hear what brings your community of interest together and what are your community's geographic boundaries. Remember, the commissioners can only incorporate your community into their maps if you let us know where your community is on the map. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Now I'll turn this back over to the commission staff to begin taking your comments.
Thank you, Ivy. First of all, I'm going to read an advisement before we move forward. So citizens may only speak when recognized by the chair or the presiding officer of the meeting if the chair is absent or otherwise has delegated hearing administration authority. In compliance with Arizona's open meeting law, speakers should confine their statements to the issue on the posted agenda, which is before the commission. Speakers are also requested to limit their comments to approximately 3 minutes. Additionally, speakers are required to follow proper decorum. Speakers must use appropriate language. Foul and/or abusive language will not be tolerated. Any speaker failing to follow proper decorum and/or other guidelines may be asked to leave. Any breach of the peace or disruption of a commission public hearing may be cause of a report to law enforcement, arrest, and prosecution. If someone has expressed the same sentiment as you, you do not need to speak in order to have your comment recorded. As long as you filled out the survey, your input will be received and considered by the commission. Everyone is welcome to speak, however, should you choose to do so. Opposing viewpoints may be expressed by the citizens present. As a courtesy, citizens are reminded to address their comments to the chair and the commission and not to the audience present. Please show respect for all speakers and avoid personal comments.
Okay, and with that, we are looking forward to diving right in with the main event, public comment, Agenda 3. We'll now begin the public comment portion. Will staff please read the names of the first speaker and the one in queue?
The first speaker is Stephen Robinson, followed by Marty Brown.
Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Stephen Robinson. I do live in Golden Valley. Legislative District 5 is one of the most expansive legislative districts. It's dominated by 3 cities surrounded by rural areas. You cannot get away from that. The congressional district we have, CD4, goes all the way around to the east side of Maricopa County, picking up Apache Junction, Gilbert, and into Pinal County. It is one of the most gerrymandered districts in the nation, I would say. Communities of interest has been violated in that district. We have very urban and areas added to the predominantly rural areas. If we included other cities of subsequent size, like Flagstaff, for instance, because it's surrounded by rural areas, then that would be more of a part of Congressional District 4 that would be appropriate with the rest of the district. But when you go all the way around and pick up urban areas, it was so unfortunate that that was done. You need a clock so I can see. But anyway, so what we need to do is have districts that throughout the whole district reflect the predominant area. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of very urban areas around Phoenix area with 4.5, almost 5 million population. But when you're talking about the rural areas, we need to have them including only those areas that are more similar to that than having the east side of the Maricopa County area. On the issue of competitiveness, which is not officially what we're addressing, when you have districts that are 60, 70% one party or the other, that's not competitive. And when you've gerrymandered the districts to where they have urban areas to create predominantly one or the other, you've done a disservice to the voters in those areas. So the competitiveness of the district, which is the last and the least important point, but I think you should take a look at that, saying maybe we, instead of having 70-30 or 60-40, we have a 55-45 district or 52-48. Now, some people don't want to have a fight on their hands to run for election or re-election, but that is, I think, is an important issue for the districts, is that they are truly communities of interest, and 2, they're a little bit more competitive than what we've had in the past 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are also going to just advise everybody to turn off their phones or put them on silent in the meeting room. And then also we have satellite sites, so we'll be throwing it over to them at some point. And then in this room, there is a clock over here, so you should be able to see the timer. It'll show green when your time is present, okay? So Marty Brown is next, and then M Nichols.
Thank you very much. Before you start my time, can I ask a question, Madam Chair? Point of order, and just for information. I noticed we have 2 commissioners here. Thank you for being with us both. Are there any other commissioners that are listening in or witnessing what we're having to say that apparently they're not here?
The other commissioners will receive all data. Unfortunately, many commissioners had prior commitments from a year ago with COVID and rescheduling, and the time commitments were not such that they could participate. But please be assured the information, the data is being recorded, it's being listened to, it's being very valued, and this is one of upcoming listening tours. So with that, please continue.
Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that. Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for visiting Lake Havasu and Mojave County and allowing public comment in Western Arizona. That's very valuable, as you can see from the attendants that are here. My name is Marty Brown. I've lived in Lake Havasu for 16 years with my wife, Christine. We chose to retire here after living 48 years in California. We chose Lake Havasu because of our shared love of the outdoors, the magnificent lake that we have, gorgeous sunsets, a near perfect climate, a well-managed and maintained local government, one that reflects our core Christian and patriotic values. As it turned out, Lake Havasu and Mojave County have also proved to be a great place to watch our grandchildren grow up, graduate high school, and begin their adult lives. I can't think of a better place to have lived. I can assure you that those I've had the honor to meet and work and play with along my journey here in Mojave County share a love of our great country and great nation. Likewise, we're fortunate to have elected officials who truly share our appreciation of our unique community values, our patriotism, and our governing principles. I'm concerned that the 2012 congressional legislative districts approved by the prior redistricting committee did not adhere to the principles outlined in the Arizona state constitution, as we just talked about. Specifically, items C and D. Districts shall be geographically compact and contiguous to the extent possible. And item D, district boundaries shall respect communities of interest to the extent possible. Our state legislatures, especially in District 5, were drawn well. However, Congressional District 4, not so much. It includes parts of Pinal County, which are a long ways away. This is Western Arizona. We have some very unique values and interests here. I don't think that districting plan necessarily met state constitutional goals. Western Arizona is uniquely situated topography. We're separated by miles of desert from the rest of the state populated areas. Not unlike other areas of Arizona, tourism is primary industry in Mojave County. Visitors flock to our valley from as far away as Canada, Wisconsin, and Washington to enjoy our open spaces in the ideal weather. In the summer months, visitors from California, Nevada, and Central Arizona enjoy the Colorado River and lakes. Water and land issues are a common bond in Western Arizona. In the geographical region, we are actively invested in all land and water issues. Additionally, services such as tourism has taxed our communities. We share the increasing challenges of retaining skilled labor, maintaining adequate public safety, and providing affordable housing and ensuring quality schools. Not unlike other parts of Arizona, we have specific unique interest in the management preservation of Colorado River ecosystem, plus the surrounding desert landscapes. In short, we're the playground in much of the western United States and beyond. Our livelihoods and quality of life depend upon solid governance and sound representation. The uniqueness of, I'll be brief. The uniqueness of Western Arizona, specifically Mojave counties, must be maintained and representative in both federal and state government. Mojave and La Paz counties share a common community of interest, which should be accurately reflected within our representative government. I would implore the commissioners to follow the state constitutional goals under Article 4, Part 2, 14A through E while considering federal and state representations. Please don't allow the mistakes of the 2012 redistricting to linger into 2022 districting plan. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be here.
Thank you. The next speaker is M Nichols, and then we're going to throw it out to our Bullhead City location.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nana M. Nichols. I have lived and currently live in Fort Mojave in Mojave County for over 22 years as a full-time Arizona resident. I'm here to give you information about my community of interest. My community works in tourism, mining, many small businesses, and agriculture. Many of our residents work in Laughlin, Nevada, and Needles, California. We are a close-knit community that abounds in neighbor helping neighbor through schools, churches, and many small organizations that support our generous veteran population, caring for animals, feeding the hungry, and clothing the less fortunate. We love our community, our river, and our local Avi Macaw Reservation. We recreate using our beautiful river in Lake Mojave, off-roading, hiking, and we go across the river to Laughlin, Nevada for gaming, entertainment, and restaurants. Many of us are senior citizens that meet at various attractions and locations for socializing, such as church, senior centers, restaurants, and shopping centers. It is critical for our area to have the Lake Mead Recreation Area stay as a recreation area for boating, fishing, and other sports that are so important to our economy. In fact, that was why this recreation area was formed originally, and it's really critical that it stay that way. Our local shopping areas comprise of Mojave Crossroads Shopping Center, Riverview Mall, 2 Walmarts, etc. We have a lot of small businesses that are the heart of our community. We also have several food banks. We have Salvation Army, St. Vincent de Paul, many local churches that we all use as socializing and supporting our community. I want to be clear that I want my community of interest to remain whole. In the last redistricting, we were divided into 2 separate supervisor districts, one for Bullhead City and another for Fort Mojave, Mojave Valley, and northern Lake Havasu City, which is 35 miles away. So I really think it's a problem that when you have our supervisor in Lake Havasu, though he's an honorable person, don't misunderstand me, but I don't think the community of interest is the same. So I just wanted to make that clear. And also my CD4, which is not in my community, and not all of it's in my community of interest. And I call out the counties of Gila, Maricopa, and Pinell are all a part of this. And they have nothing in common with us that I know of. In fact, I rarely go to any of these places. So I just think that that is an issue, and I think it was well addressed by other speakers. So essentially, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about my community and community of interest. I didn't really spell out what that is, but essentially for me, it's Bullhead City, Fort Mojave, and Mojave Valley. And of course, Lake Havasu is really part of our area, as well as Kingman. We all operate as one community of interest, in my opinion. So I just want to know, or I want to tell you that it matters to many people I know that we have the right to come and speak to you folks about how you're going to be redistricting our voting centers or districts. So I thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. And as we welcome new speakers, I'd like to ask for some specific feedback about one issue, which is population and the size of districts. So, you know, just looking at population growth in Arizona, and there's still 9 districts, so districts will go up in population. We still have the same 30 legislative districts with each with increasing population. I just ask that as you speak to your interest and your needs, to consider that, roughly speaking, and my math may be, you know, a little bit off, but with our population, you're looking at about 800,000 plus for a congressional district. You're looking at 200,000 plus per legislative district. So speak not only about, you know, who you want to stay with and your you know, what's comfortable, but when you're wanting to differentiate, please share where else you would like to be included, because that data is very important to us. We're required to adhere, as you heard, to the Constitution.
That's exactly what she just said.
Okay, thank you. So
Thank
the
you.
next speaker will be over with Valerie Newman in our other location. And Alex, I think they're muted. Why don't we go to the next speaker here, and then they can.
Okay, I've been unmuted.
Oh.
Okay, can we please have silence so we can hear a satellite location? Thank you.
Okay, my name is James Barber, and I live in Mojave Valley, Arizona. And I understand that the districts are going to be about 800,000 people. And I figured that much because some states like Rhode Island, they don't get it. They have almost 1 million people, but didn't reach the threshold of about 1.3 million to get 2 districts. And I've seen some gerrymandering. I once saw a gerrymandered district so they could keep 2 communities of color together, and that gerrymander happened from East Kansas City along the I-70, which gathered no people, all the way over to the west side of St. Louis to keep communities of color together. And that was a congressional district that had been done back in the 90s. Now, when it comes to our district, we need 900,000 people. Well, the one thing that's really important is you're going to have people who are going to fight against this redistricting because, quote unquote, you're going to start separating communities of color. Well, I'm an American. There is no color. You're either an American or you're not. I happen to be African American or black or whatever, but my first allegiance is that I'm an American, and we should not be trying to separate our communities based on some geographical or skin color. We're Americans, and we don't need that type of division. And that's what I saw in the last redistricting, that there was a whole bunch of, we're going to keep this group together and we're going to keep that group together. Well, the first question is, are they Americans? Yes, then they can be in any district they need to be in. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. We will throw it off to Michelle and Kingman. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, and then members, Vice Chair and Watchman, and the listening audience. We are coming to you from Kingman, Arizona, and I have one speaker for this evening, Mary McCord Robinson.
Good evening, and thank you very much for coming and listening to us. I've been a resident of Mojave County now for 16 years, and I'm here tonight to ask you to keep Mojave County district lines as they are today. Making any changes would be disruptive to the progress that we've made by bringing our 3 core cities together and working together and having a common goal and achieving those goals. Our economic status has improved and its trajectory is on course to continue. While we definitely are not all like-minded in Mojave County, we don't all agree on the education platforms, infrastructure, party politics. We have built relationships, and those relationships take commitment and time and could be detrimental if they were to make significant changes. As a rural community of interest, please consider keeping the rural counties along the Colorado River as one. I would also see no reason to not keep the northern part of our county intact, Colorado City, Beaver Dam, Scenic. In regards to our native lands and population, color does matter, and it matters for them. And while I am not here to represent them, I would ask that you really listen to them, hear what their needs are before you finalize any of those maps. Our legislative District 5 works, and most that know me know I rarely ever agree with Steve Robinson because we don't agree on anything. But I will agree and support everything that he said regarding CD4. It is absolutely gerrymandered. It does not represent our rural communities. And if we need to expand the number of participants within our district, then we should look to the east to those that are more rural and have more communities of interest and take into consideration our communities of color. I absolutely think that's important. I appreciate your time this evening, and I look forward to seeing your draft maps. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that was the last speaker over there. So we're going to come back here to Kenny Works, and after Kenny is Elaine Downing.
Kenny Works from Yucca. The reason I wanted to speak was because of I don't want to see what happens the next redistricting and the last one. When I moved here, I was in District 3, La Paz County and Mojave. Pretty simple. Carve-outs for a few others, but mostly Native American communities was carved out of District 3 for the to be part of District 2, which represents mostly Native Americans. That was the previous to our last redistricting. At least I knew what my district number was because they gave me a map. The map was in Citizens Clean Election Commission 2008 statewide and legislative candidate statements primary election. All of these pamphlets had maps of my district. I always knew who my fellow district people were, who I needed to talk to and try and convince. I've never seen a map of this district I'm in now, District 4. Never seen a map of it. One has never been printed and put in this form so I can see what district I'm in. I'm guessing probably because they weren't proud of the results. I'd like to see that changed when the next redistricting is done. I want something simple I can look at, not something scattered out across the state. I hope that my messages get through, and I thank you for the opportunity to talk to you and try and convince you of my concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Elaine Downing is next, followed by Greg Logan.
Hi, my name's Elaine Downing. I've been a resident of Mojave County since 1990. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I am a retired federal employee with the Bureau of Land Management and was an outdoor recreation planner. When I moved here, I didn't know much about living in the desert, but I have to say that Mojave County has been a wonderful surprise. From the Grand Canyon to Hoover Dam, all the public lands, and the one thing that it all has in common is the water. People from all over the country come here to enjoy Western Arizona, the waterways and the public lands, the casinos, the wildlife, everything. This was a great place for my husband and I to raise our children and to retire. Camping, fishing, driving less than an hour and being able to see a billion stars at night because there's no light pollution. I don't know anybody that doesn't enjoy a campfire out there. It's my hope that wherever the lines are drawn and whomever is elected to represent us in the future will realize that a true democracy is full of people who have different ideas, experiences, strengths, and weaknesses. We come from different paths, different parts of the country, and some are actually from other countries that live here. Things should not be black or white or red or blue. We need a balance in our districts as much as we need a balance in our elected officials who we elect to represent us. After all, they are supposed to represent all of us. I found a balance in Mojave County, and I hope we can continue to call this place home and feel at home every day about every conflict. This conflict the last 5 years has been horrible, but I hope we come together. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Greg Logan, followed by Daniel Koblash.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Gregory Logan. I live in Lake Havasu City, Mojave County. I'm retired from the Navy, and I also draw Social Security. I was born and raised in California, but while in the Navy, have been stationed around the world and even Philadelphia. When I retired, I chose to become part of Arizona. My community of interest is made up of my fellow veterans, a community of escapees from the destructive policies of California, U.S. citizens who came to work and perhaps build a business in an affordable environment with opportunities to live, grow, and raise families. Excuse me. A community of both older and younger new friends from which I have learned and absorbed many new and wonderful ideas, and yes, some ideas that had to be rejected because they were just plain dumb. It's also a community that likes plain speaking, law and order, practicality, government efficiency, and openness, and just plain good old common sense. My community is Lake Havasu City and Mojave County in that order. We know this board has a difficult mission ahead, but we urge you to make that task easier by following the 6 constitutional requirements for redistricting, but just noting 2 of them. Emphasizing communities of interest. This board deserves kudos for taking that guideline seriously. You have my thanks. But making districts more competitive, we know you have to follow it when it doesn't create a detriment with the other guidelines. But in my opinion, it's just boneheaded. I have sympathy for your assigned tasks, but I believe competitiveness angle should be the individual candidate's problem, not a commission. When drawing the new districts, please be respectful of Mojave County and its environment communities within. Thank you for hearing my testimony.
Next speaker is Daniel Koblash, and then Nancy Campbell is after that.
My name is Daniel Koblosh, K-O-B-L-O-S-H, as it says here to state. My wife, Joy, and I purchased a home here in Lake Havasu City in 2015 and moved here permanently in November of 2016 after living in Redondo Beach, California for most of my life. Many people have asked, why would you move from the temperate sea breezes of Redondo Beach, where it's 70 degrees most of the time, to the 120-degree Arizona desert? The short answer is that gerrymandering by corrupt, power-hungry California politicians robbed us of any genuine political representation, and we literally fled California. When I purchased my Redondo house in 1980, I was represented in Congress by a man named B1 Bob Dornan, because he was a strong pro-defense conservative. By redrawing my district to become one of the most tortured shapes in American congressional history, snaking along the coast from San Pedro Harbor northward to encompass West Los Angeles, carefully including only leftist voters, I became a disenfranchised voter, never to be represented again, and made to suffer under unseen and unresponsive political cronies who were guaranteed re-election cycle after cycle. Though we owned our own home free and clear and could have stayed there forever, we moved to the free state of Arizona because these are my people. Amen. And we are represented by men and women who live and reflect our values, something we clearly lost in California. We have transformed from multi-million city dweller people living amongst a horde to small-town people in record time, and we love it. Upon your shoulders, the commission, is the responsibility to redistrict Arizona based upon new Arizonans, like my wife and me and thousands of others, who moved here specifically because we desired genuine political representation and a small town. Your ability to cut and paste to form districts to mold Arizona to become something it isn't and hasn't been throughout its history, in other words, what they did to California, should weigh heavily on your souls. I implore you to do the right thing and redistrict this fine state honestly and not in a naked, cynical, partisan manner. Thank you very much.
we go. Yes. Dear Commission, thank you for the opportunity to address you on what I believe to be an extremely important issue. I look forward to assist in this process to ensure Arizona maps are fair for all citizens. I recognize and believe previous maps had many inaccuracies, including population sizes. I call for the current districts to be drawn as close to or equal population as possible. I'm a Lake Havasu City Council member who has been a longtime resident of Mojave County. I'm proud to say my husband and I have raised 3 children here, and they are raising their children here. Like many in my community, my husband and I have worked in many businesses, including construction, mining, retail, hospitality, event planning, and more. Our community has a strong tourism base bordering California. The Californians fleeing for safety, lower taxes, and a better way of life is changing the demographics of our community daily. We need to be heard, allowing me to assist with the growth. Many of the cities in the county are left with no affordable housing, lack of infrastructure, deteriorating roads. Many in the community believe Maricopa County overlooks many rural communities, leaving many counties struggling to keep up with the much-needed demands of our citizens. As an elected official, I enjoy the time I serve on many local boards, from the hospital, Partners of Economic Development, Patient Advisory Council, Board of Ethics, WACOG, Tri-City Council, Mojave County Water Authority, and more. The lessons I have learned through these boards continue to enforce the need to follow the Constitution, which redistricting is an important part of. I've witnessed neighborhoods, communities, and counties becoming divided for the sake of incumbents and party favorites. This process must be 100% bipartisan and transparent, giving the voters of Arizona the confidence they will be heard across all of the state of Arizona. Best regards, and thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. And if you don't mind, and whether it's a question to you or to somebody else, I'm thinking through this. Can you share a little bit more with us about what your needs are? We're hearing your ethos, your culture, what you want. I'd like to hear a little more specific data about, what specifically in the lines didn't work, what specifically in the future of the lines will work. That's just helpful data for us to be able to listen to the comments and actually transcribe it into meaningful work. So with that, please move forward.
Okay, the next speaker is David Diaz, followed by David Burnett.
I didn't come with data. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do what you just said. I didn't.
That's okay.
I didn't come with data, but a couple of statements. First of all, we live in a democratic republic, not a democracy. Wanted to say that. I also agree with Mr. Barber from Bullhead City. He's African American, but he identifies as an American. I am a Mexican American, and I identify as an American. I am a citizen here of Lake Havasu City. I started coming here in the late 70s, bought a home here about 5 years ago, and moved here full-time about 18 months ago. I'm on the board of directors for the Republican Men's Club. I'm really involved in the city here. I'm on the sit on the Planning and the Zoning Commission. And with all due respect to the lady that spoke from Kingman, keeping communities of color together, I mean, people that supposedly can't get a fax machine, can't get a copy machine, can't get IDs, they quit coddling communities of color. You don't need to do that. So my goal, let me get my eyeballs off here. I want to read it, because you started the meeting with your goal. So here's my goal. It's the opposite of what Webster says gerrymandering is, which I hope you guys do. Manipulate, that's the key word, manipulate the boundaries of an electoral constituency so as to favor the party or class, one party or class. Achieve a result by manipulating the boundaries of an electoral constituency. We want that not to happen. That's our goal. So if you're fair and if you're transparent, I'd love to be at the fly on the wall when you guys gather all this data from your road trip and decide yay, no, yes, no, who makes that decision, why, and be very, very transparent on that. I think that will go a long way in making people see that you made the decisions based on fairness and not political party. That's it.
The next speaker is David Burnett, followed by Diane Klassmeister.
My name is David Burnett. I'm president of the Republican Men's Club here in town. And I was looking at the map there and I see where, for some reason, we wrap all the way down around Maricopa County. And what I was proposing is we ought to be look at Western Arizona. I was thinking maybe like a Mojave County, Yavapai, La Paz, Yuma. With all due respect, Maricopa County doesn't have a clue what Western Arizona and Mojave County rural priorities and challenges their population faces. We are strong patriots, Christians, and conservatives with an overwhelming number of military veterans and retirees. We're mostly Republicans and celebrate traditions, American holidays. We're also heavily off-road and boating communities. The reason I think Western Arizona ought to be is because we're all river communities. Bullhead, Havasu, Kingman, Fort Mojave, Yuma. We all depend heavily on the river. It's basically part of our life. We swim, fish. There's a lot of fishing tournaments that go on there, and we depend on tourism, and it's just part of our daily life. We're either in boats or running around the desert in a four-wheeler or razors or something like that. And if somebody's in this Maricopa, this Western Arizona, and they're going to represent us, they ought to be from the rural country, and then they ought to represent us from that viewpoint. That's it.
The next speaker is Diane Clustermeyer, and then after that, we're going to go back to Bullhead City. Okay, I think we can go to Bullhead City.
She's here.
Oh, I'm sorry. So pause. Oh, here comes Diane.
Hello, my name's Diane Klostermeyer, and I'm sorry I didn't quite hear my name called. I've been a resident of Lake Havasu City for over 30 years and a registered voter for quite a few years, more than that. I'm here to respectfully request that you honor our state constitution with regard to developing our voting districts. In 2012, the commission failed to follow the state constitution and gerrymandered Arizona voting districts in favor of the Democrats, in my opinion. We lost seats in Congress, seats in the state legislature as a result. This cannot stand for the election in 2022. I'm here to defend our elections in Arizona and defend our great country by demanding voting integrity in developing these districts so as to provide us with a fair, honest voting policies and elections, thereby preventing any misrepresentation of our district, our voting rights, our values, our elections, and our future election results as well. I want to thank you for your kind attention. I think a lot of the others have stressed a lot of the things that we all stand for, our values, and the things that this community has. I've been very proud to live here because of their values. I want to thank you for your kind attention and your future efforts in this serious matter. It is a serious matter. May God bless you, and may God bless America. I remain respectfully yours, Diane F. Thank you.
Our next speaker is actually going to be here, Diana Wright, and then we'll do Jeanne Kench. Is Diana Wright?
I am. They said pretty much everything I wanted to say, but I have questions. I kind of stumbled into this.
We can't hear you.
Sorry. I'm a little bit more shy than anything, but so I sort of stumbled into this, and you guys are a traveling, finding out this commission, but who pays for this? Did we elect you guys? Did the Democratic Party pay for you guys to do this? Where's that?
No, good question.
But no, it's a state commission that was authorized by a ballot proposition 106, and because it was a state-approved commission, the state government funds it.
And who supported the ballot, though? The ballot that you just said. You said it.
Oh, the ballot 106, 20 years. How many years ago? I have no idea who funded that.
Thank you. Okay.
And who funded it? Oh, who knows who funded it?
Well,
I don't know.
Is everybody
we are now the third iteration. Just for clarification, we are now the third iteration of this independent redistricting commission that was passed by that ballot.
Okay. And why would Maricopa County be considered part of this district? I mean, what is in common? What would be the goal? I mean, that's a city, it's crime rate than what we have. It's a completely different lifestyle. As many have said, they've fled California, as I did, to come. I was in a rural community in California. It no longer exists. So we're here, and then where do I move next if we make this a metropolis and make it some big city? Why would Maricopa County be part of our redistricting?
You know, well, first of all, please understand that the districts are not yet drawn. We start all over, and this is our deep desire to collect data in order to draw those districts. So
right, it's not answering my question.
But in terms of understanding how districts are drawn, you must understand that there are constitutional criteria. They must be relatively equal population sizes, contiguous. And so when you balance all of those requirements and you look at our state population and break it into the different geographic locations, our mapping team can attest from a statistical, just algorithm perspective, all of that. It's remarkably difficult. We are doing our best. If you have constitutional questions, you're welcome to submit, a comment. We'll have our legal team respond to that. But
you're making it sound like though we are required to live in a big city. We're not allowed to live rurally.
You are allowed to live where you want to
live,
provided with representation that is dictated by the Constitution of Arizona and the United States.
Like I said, I kind of stumbled into this, but what I listened to before, it seemed like the last redistricting didn't go according to Arizona Constitution. So I would ask that you honestly do that. And if you don't know what it is exactly, or you manipulate words to mean other things, that you check with people who might know better.
We are observing the constitutional requirements for redistricting to the
Nancy
best
Pelosi
extent.
says that all the time, and it's not true.
Okay. Thank you. With that, we'll move on, please.
Here in Bullhead City, we have Barbara Pape.
Here is Steve Robinson already spoke, so I think that Jan is our last speaker, unless we have, unless we have another speaker in our satellite station.
Thank you for having me. My name is Jeannie Kench. You know, I've heard a lot of, I don't want to repeat a lot of what they said, so my speech is going to be a lot shorter than I expected, but we have some great speakers here tonight. My family moved to Mojave County in 1982, and I've raised a family, opened multiple businesses, and am now representing property owners as the Mojave County assessor. I have spent the last 30 years of my life advocating for citizens of the city, Lake Havasu, the county, Mojave, and within my beautiful Arizona state, as you. I have advocated for roads, water, land use, and now it is time to advocate for the voters. Mojave County's current congressional and legislative voters divide Mojave County by a very small area that creates a lack of representation for a select few voters in the northern portion of Mojave County. For example, currently, the Arizona district line has legislative district 5 at over 92% of Mojave County and less than 8% out of Mojave County. So why not just included in Mojave County? Mojave County needs to be whole. We are living areas. Carving out such a small amount of legislative District 5 and Congressional District 4 leaves some of Mojave County voters with little continuity. These areas that include rural areas such as Peach Springs and portions of the Wallapai Indian Reservation deserve inclusion within Mojave County. Many of these residents pay taxes in Mojave County, and they are represented through their county board of supervisors, their county assessor as me, the recorder, the treasurer. They should also have the same legislative and congressional representatives as well. The carve-out, as it is, alienates those Mojave County residents and should be represented as all other Mojave County residents are. So I urge you to please carve out that little 8%. And thank you for considering this alteration and allowing for more continuity within all of Mojave County. So thank you.
And I believe we have a last speaker with Valerie Newman.
Here in Bullhead City, we have Barbara Pape who'd like to speak.
Hello. What I'm asking is to keep the mapping to the guidance.
I can't hear you.
What I'm asking is to keep the guidance, keep the mapping to the guidance of our Constitution and our founding fathers who have established 3 freedoms.
Hey, Val, we
Freedom.
can't hear them.
I don't know. I didn't take
it's not.
It's on her. I didn't touch it.
There we go. We can hear you now. Thank you.
You can hear? Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. My name is Barbara Pape, Bullhead City. Keep the mapping to the guidance of our Constitution and founding fathers who have established 3 freedoms. Freedoms of prosperity, freedom of advancing through the classes, freedom of religious tolerance, and comply to our freedoms. That is all we have asked here in this region.
And is that our last comment?
I believe that was our last comment of the night. Thank you so much.
Oh.
Well, and at this point, we'll send it back to Chairwoman Newberg to close out the meeting.
Yes, thank you, everybody. We're going to close out the meeting. It's been a remarkable display of civic engagement. As you have seen today on our website, we have easy-to-use tools for learning about and for sharing information about your community of interest. Rather than relying on purely our interpretation of your comments today, we encourage you to go online and submit a map to us. This will ensure we correctly understand the definition of your community. Please encourage your friends and neighbors to share their thoughts too. Anyone can do so online anytime. There is no requirement to attend one of these meetings to be heard. We look forward to your continued involvement, and with this, we will adjourn the public hearing tonight. Thank you for everybody's participation.